up with nothing. Okay, and once the Every Soul in Nation is first.
It's first.
Yes.
And we do both lyrics?
Yes.
We both verses?
Yes, both verses.
If I had time, I might rewrite the lyrics.
Okay, okay.
Surprise them with a different version. And I'll do like the sending the kids off thing.
Yeah, and I do that one twice.
I was listening to this and my wife said, it sounds like really depressing song.
Yeah, no, it is very like, almost like March-like, but like, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of like it though.
Yeah, I think it was written by a sort of famous poet, James Russell Lowell.
It's got like a fun like melody thing to it.
Yeah, I like the music. I
Yeah.
just kind of thrown
The lyrics? Yeah.
I think I've been having aha moments with these lyrics.
Maybe today, as we're singing.
The second lyric too. I've been struggling with. Though its portion be the scaffold and upon the throne and
Whose portion?
well, I think the portion is truth,
Yeah.
and I think it's the truth is the
Yes,
scaffold.
truth is the scaffold.
You might get to the throne and still be wrong.
But I thought, wouldn't truth always be right?
Then you choose the brave, while the cowards stand beside. Still I know, my job is just to sing it. But I'm used to, coming from theater, I'm used to just discussing what we're actually saying.
Where did it go? Oh, you're not. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Well, I'm gonna start.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society. We're grateful together on this beautiful morning, both in person and online, for a time of inspiration, reflection, and connection. Whether you join us today with joy in your heart, weighted with burdens, or searching for meaningful connections, we are glad you're here. I'm Alan Swanson, a worship associate for the Unitarian Universalist Society. I'm a tall, blonde Swede who just turned 80. Barely standing, right? Standing in the UUS's pulpit at the front of our sanctuary. Our sanctuary and adjoining commons are filled with people of all ages. Through the window walls of our sanctuary, we connect to the natural world around us, where it is not too cold, not too hot, just right. As we gather, we give thanks for this land and all who have cared for it over the centuries, particularly the Kickapoo, the Iowa, the Sauk, the Meskwaki, and the Oceti-Sakowin nations. As people of many ages, genders, races, sexual orientations, classes, abilities, and health statuses, we know how important it is to come together and work together to create a radically welcoming spiritual community. As Unitarian Universalists, our faith expresses our core value of love through how we agree to be together and to support each other. We're guided by the shared principles, sources, and values of our living religious tradition. This morning we focus on getting out the vote for the upcoming presidential and other elections, celebrating and exercising our UU principles and values. If you're newer to our congregation, we invite you to learn more about us after the service. For those here in person, you can talk to a greeter in the atrium. For those online, there's a link to a visitor form in the YouTube notes that will let you connect with us. As a call to worship, I'm going to read Freedom by Black poet and activist Langston Hughes, who wrote this in 1949. Democracy will not come today, this year, nor ever, through compromise and fear. I have as much right as the other fellow has to stand on my 2 feet and own the land. I tire so of hearing people say, let things take their course. Tomorrow is another day. I do not need my freedom when I'm dead. I cannot live on tomorrow's bread. Freedom is a strong seed planted in a great need. I live here too. I want freedom, just as you. Our opening hymn is number 119, Once to Every Soul and Nation. Our screens are up. They're working. Okay.
Once to every soul and nation comes the moment to decide. In the strife of truth with falsehood, for the good or evil side, then to stand with truth is noble when we share its wretched crust. Ere that cause bring fame and profit, and 'tis prosperous to be just. Though the cause of evil prosper, yet 'tis truth alone is strong. Through its portion be the scaffold, and upon the throne be wrong. Then it is the brave one chooses, while the coward stands aside, till the multitude make virtue of the faith they have denied.
as Unitarian Universalists, we light a flame within a chalice as a symbol of sanctuary and safety, to unite us in our worship and to remind us of the ongoing search for the light of truth. Please join me in saying our chalice lighting words as Bell lights our chalice. Life is a gift for which we're grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the wonder and mystery of this great gift. So let us now kindle the flame of our liberal religious heritage and renew our covenant of mutual love and care. Love is our doctrine, the quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to serve those in need. This we promise, this we covenant with life and one another. Each week we light a candle for justice and healing to acknowledge our interdependence with the natural world and with all members of the global community, especially the most vulnerable. We light this candle so that we may not be numbed by injustice and trauma, but rather find strength and courage, love as we work in solidarity with others for liberation, justice, and healing. Together we create resilience and love. Today as we light this candle, we're particularly mindful of what's at stake in the months ahead, how the result of our election for president and others will affect justice and our connected lives. As I light this candle, let's hold a time of silence to listen to our hearts and bodies, or perhaps to lift up prayers.
Good morning. My name is Nick Kaplan. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm the grateful director of Lifespan Religious Education here at UUS. Today, we are going to pretend, okay, and I'm going to need everyone's help on this. We are going to pretend that we are all in school together, okay? One big school. Our school has decided to get a pet. But we have some decisions that we need to make before we can go forward and get the pet. The people in charge at the school want it to be as fair as possible, so we're all going to vote to make these decisions. All right? First, we have to decide whether we're getting a land animal or a pet that needs a tank of water, okay? So those are our two decisions that we have first. But do you know what I think we need? We do. We need some discussion or somebody to tell us why they think we should do each one of those things. It looks like I already have a volunteer. Would you like to speak in favor of having a land animal, or you're going, pause for a second, you may change your mind whether you want to volunteer or not, okay? I am going to ask 2 volunteers to come forward and talk to the whole school about their opinion about why we should get a land animal or why we should get an aquatic animal, an animal that lives in water. Uh-oh, this could be interesting. All right, so you're going to have to come forward and talk. I did see your hand first. Which animal would you like to talk about?
I'd like to talk about land animals.
Okay. So, in just a few sentences. For those of you who don't know, this is my daughter. In just a few sentences, I want you to tell everyone why you think we should get a land animal. Nope, you can stand right here. It's on.
I think we should get a land animal because one, they have scorpions and snakes, and two, it's just they can actually live without the water. Well, not without drinking water, but you know what I mean.
All right. This is, okay. Can I have Sebastian come up? You're ready to speak on water animals, why we should get an aquatic animal? Okay. All right, can you tell everyone in a few sentences?
I would like to get a water animal because there's sharks, there's great whites, and I love them. So, thanks.
So for those, are we actually getting? Nope, we're playing pretend, remember? We're playing pretend. We are playing pretend. We are at capacity with pets at UUS. For those of, we've got to move on because we've got lots of voting to do. There are other decisions we have to make. But for those of you who missed that, our platforms were because I like them and because I like them, right? Okay, so we're going to vote on whether we should get a land animal or a water animal. Everyone gets a vote, right? Right? Okay. For this vote, if you can raise your hand or your order of service or something up, I will count all the votes. Okay? So if you think we should get a land animal, would you raise your hand or something into the air for me to count? All right. Oh, so sorry. Okay, we're at an even 50. Now, if you think we should get a water animal, do the same. Raise your hand. All right, and I'm counting again. That was only 25 votes. So, we'll get a land animal. All right, we're choosing our own path, right? We're choosing our own adventure. We've chosen as a group that we will get a land animal. And this is pretend. Since there were more votes for the land animal, that's what we're going to pretend that we'll get. Based on the supplies that we need to get and what items we already have, we already know that there are two choices. We can get a hamster or a gecko. Ooh, we have opinions already. Last time we voted, though, I think some people were influenced by their family and friends and the people around them. What could we do to make our vote more fair this time? Close our eyes? Does that make sense? Because we don't have time for me to pass out ballots, right? We can agree on that. We don't have time to pass out ballots. So we'll either close or cover our eyes this time when we vote. That way, everyone's listening to what they believe is the most, it is what they really want instead of worrying about those around them. So we're going to vote again for whether we're getting a hamster or a gecko, okay? We'll pretend, because that's what we're doing right now, right? We'll pretend that you had time to do research. into those animals, or that you got a chance to visit those animals at a pet store and make up your mind for yourself. Again, because of time, we're just going to pretend. I'm going to need more volunteers the next vote, okay?
Can you count one of these two?
One of our stuffies. I will try to make sure if I see their hand go up, okay, that I will count stuffy votes as well. All right, we are pretending after all, right? Okay, so remember to close or cover your eyes this time. If you think we should get a hamster, raise your hand.
Is hamster a water animal? No. There's my
18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25, Checking our RE Commons is difficult with the glare. All right, you may put your hands down. If you feel we should get a gecko, raise your hand. Ooh, all right. All right, you may put your hands down, you may open your eyes. Either I miscounted or somebody didn't vote. We got 48 votes for gecko and only 29 votes for hamster. All right, so we'll be getting a gecko. Yay! There's a lot of mixed feelings after our vote. Imagine that. We have some big feelings happening, some big excitement, some big disappointment, some claims of me lying.
Somebody claimed you lied?
I don't know. I just heard it from the space. Okay, but we have one more choice to make. We have to decide whether the gecko's cage is going to be in the front hallway near the front doors, or if the gecko's going to spend time in each of the classrooms throughout the year. So a traveling tank or one that's placed out in the hallway. But you know what? Counting all these votes has taken a long time, and I know we have lots of speakers to get to today. So instead of each individual having a vote this time, I'm going to need some representatives from each section. And that way, I have 3 sections here, I have the area over by the carpet here, and I have the RE Commons. That's 5 sections. I will take 1 representative from each of those locations, and those 5 will vote for whether we have our tank, our gecko, in the front hall, or our gecko traveling from classroom to classroom. Now, for the sake of time, right, because that's why we've been making these changes. For the sake of time, I'm going to pretend that we held elections for these representatives based on our volunteers. So if I could have volunteers from this section over here. Is anybody willing to volunteer to be our representative? Ooh. Oh, Kendra volunteered between your seating. Okay. All right, so Kendra will be our representative for this section. I need a representative, a volunteer from this section. Thank you. Did anyone else want to? Okay, we're good. A representative from here. Did we have anyone else in this section who wanted to volunteer potentially? No? All right. Oh gosh, you know what? I need a representative from back there too. Okay? I know Sebastian had been back there, right? Can you represent the RE Commons for me? Okay. And then I'm gonna, Oh, yeah. From this section, we're gonna, right here, okay? Nope. Vivian is gonna be our representative. So I have a representative. I have 5 representatives, right? All my representatives know who they are. Representatives, raise your hand if you vote for the traveling gecko, the gecko that goes from classroom to classroom. Oh, 1, 2, 3. And just to make sure our representatives are voting, if you think the gecko should stay out in the hallway by the front doors, one of our representatives did not. Oh, there. All right, so it was 3-2. Our gecko will travel from classroom to classroom. Can I get a hand for my representatives, please? Thank you. You can go ahead and take your seats. Thank you to our representatives and for everyone who cast your votes today. While this was just a pretend vote, it was an important demonstration of something that we find extremely important as Unitarian Universalists. We believe that everyone's voice is important, and even though this was a pretend story about a school pet, it's a reminder of how we work together here at UUS and how we believe we need to interact and act in the world around us. Our voices matter. Speaking of our voices, we are going to raise our voices together as we light the lantern to go to religious education classes. So any children or youth and teachers who would like to head outside today for religious education, if you could come forward, Vivian is going to help me light our lantern while Art leads all of your voices in our lantern ritual.
Take with you the flame from our chalice, take with you the light and the hope, take with you the blessings and love, explore our faith and grow. Take this flame as you go. Take with you the flame from our chalice, take with you the light and the hope, take with you the blessings and love, explore our faith and grow. Take this flame as you go.
Isn't Nick Kaplan wonderful? She said everything that I wanted to say, so I might just sit down, but... So good morning. My name is Jim Olson. I am a member of the Unitarian Universalist Society. I'm also 80 years old and grateful to be that old. Applause, applause. I wear glasses, I have gray hair, I'm wearing a striped shirt. I don't know about you, but I find myself on a roller coaster of emotions as I think about the November elections. Anxiety, fear of the unknown, feelings of powerlessness. If you share some of these emotions, you may wonder, as I do, what can we do individually or together to be resilient and positive as November approaches? Reverend Diana ends each service by calling on us, quote, to love fully and fiercely into the world. To love fully and fiercely into the world. Those words catch me up short every time I hear them. What does it mean to love fully, and especially what does it mean to love fiercely into the world? One way to love fully and fiercely is to vote, to act to preserve and protect voting rights, and to understand how the election impacts people, especially vulnerable people. The framework for loving fully and fiercely, at least in my mind, is the National Unitarian Universalist Initiative called UU the Vote. In this initiative, voting, urging and empowering all eligible citizens to vote, and working in solidarity with others are specific actions we can and must take, not just to elect our favorite candidates, but also to help create the beloved community. Voting is an expression of our UU values and is grounded in UU theology. In a moment, we're going to hear testimonies from several people speaking on how the elections will impact them and, in fact, all of us. But before we hear them, I want to make 3 points. I used to be a teacher, so there are 3 points, and there'll be a quiz at the end of the hour. Point number 1 is that our approach this morning is going to be nonpartisan. We will not name candidates or political parties. We will not presume to tell you how or for whom to vote, because we trust in your ability to think for yourselves and to identify candidates whose views align with your values. We trust your judgment, and what's more, we want to respect everyone in this room and all of you who are watching this service on YouTube, regardless of your political affiliation. If we claim to affirm the worth and dignity of all people, then we must recognize diverse political opinions. We should listen to one another and those in the wider community with whom we disagree, and, more importantly, engage with them. And I'll say more about that later. Second point, while we are focusing on the November elections, I, for one, do not believe that elections are the be-all and come-all. While we must vote and ensure that all eligible citizens can vote, our salvation will not come at the ballot box. Even more important than voting, we must work between elections, forming alliances and working in solidarity with others. As one UUS member said in an email, one election is not going to save our bacon. Third, we want you to do something. Toward the end of the service, I will review the list of possible activities which is printed on the reverse of your order of service. Those of you at home who are watching, please find yesterday's email that contained the order of service and the list of activities. Those of you here in the sanctuary have each received a small little slip of paper, and we will encourage you to write on that slip one or more actions you will take, but more about that later. This work may be difficult and perhaps uncomfortable. At my tender age of 80, unlike some 80-year-olds, I want nothing more than to rest, to find a warm spot, to retreat, to read a good book. I have to constantly admonish myself that given the gift of good health, I must do something and risk being uncomfortable. But on the positive side, doing something may also provide a sense of making a difference. We may meet interesting people and learn something new. We may be involved in the work of ending oppression and racism, and we will know that we did not sit out the election as passive observers. Now, what is at stake? We will hear from Diana Henry, Quanda Hood, Micah Chase, if she's here, I'm not sure she's arrived. And after a musical interlude, we'll hear from Russ Lenth, Gray Lindley, and Hillary Higgins. I want to thank all of them for sharing their thoughts on these challenging topics. And first, we'll hear from Diana.
Good morning. Forgive me, but my voice is not going to be as robust as usual. I have a cold. I'm a short black woman with braided hair. My pronouns are she, her. And I have a kind of a flowerish yellow top. I grew up in Lincoln Heights, Ohio. It is the first all-black, self-governing community north of the Mason-Dixon line. Lincoln Heights had the cooperative housing sold to residents called the Valley Homes after World War II. By the late 1970s, residents had problems paying the government for their mortgages. While serving as the Valley Homes Mutual Housing Cooperative president, my father, Leslie Edwards Jr., was determined to keep the residents in their homes. Using the Freedom of Information Act, he discovered that the government had overcharged the residents deliberately for 12 years. In 1979, using this information and more, he went to Washington, D.C. with a local lawyer, the mayor of Lincoln Heights, and other cooperative leaders. President Jimmy Carter sent his son to Lincoln Heights to look into the situation. By the fall of 1980, the federal government eliminated the $540,000 debt under the Housing and Community Development Act. My father's persistence shows that in a democracy, one cannot take one's freedom for granted. It requires continual vigilance and resilience because those in power will take advantage of people if they are not held accountable. In addition, it also shows that during that time, guardrails were in place to assist government officials in abiding by them. We are approaching a crucial presidential election in November, where democracy is on the line. The divisive rhetoric has caused some in government to ignore those guardrails. One of my concerns is the apparent deviation from the intended functioning of the three branches of government. Their primary purpose is to prevent a concentration of power and ensure that one branch does not conflict with the other. However, the Supreme Court, in particular, has become highly politicized, no longer serving as the final arbitrator of law in a clear, unbiased manner. Additionally, Congress has relinquished much of its power to the executive branch. There may be rare instances where the executive branch needs to intervene. However, various political and corporate interests undermine the established governmental guardrails, threaten the democratic system. It is imperative that we, the people, become more vigilant and persistent in our civic duties. We must investigate and hold our elected officials accountable to everyday people, not just the wealthy or the behemoth corporations. In a democracy, education is paramount. We need critical thinking skills to guide us in acting and demonstrating for change. Unfortunately, some elements in government discourage the public from asking essential questions, dismissing such individuals as being woke. Yet democracy requires us to ask critical questions and act to bring about change. One powerful way to do this is through voting. The coming presidential election demands that we harness our commitment to a democratic way of life and be ever more persistent in registering people to vote. For our way of life depends on it.
Good morning. There's nothing I love better than having to follow the wonderful Miss Diana. My name is Quanda Hood, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm a friend of UUS and occasionally a worship associate. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning to talk about immigration. For those who have not heard me state before, I'm a permanent resident who was born in San Fernando, Trinidad, a little island off the coast of Venezuela, and I immigrated to the U.S. when I was 7 months old. I found out I was adopted when I was 13, and when I turned 18, I realized that my parents had not filed the proper paperwork to make me a U.S. citizen. But because of that, that means that I'm a permanent resident with what's called a green card. That process, I just got my green card recently, as a matter of fact, about 16 years ago. Thank you. It took me 34 years to get my green card renewed. As you can tell, I speak English. It's the only language I've ever known. This is the only place I've ever called home. But yet there were so many complications, and so many times I had to apply to become a citizen. When you pass a year, you have to apply again. So it cost me not only 34 years, but also around $10,000 between the fees and the lawyers trying to help me get things straightened out. You can ask, why is that so complicated? Imagine coming here and not speaking English and knowing no one and trying to navigate that system. There are two sides to this story that we hear very often. They're either pouring across the border and doing horrific things in our country, or they're people who go unseen, work menial jobs that most of us don't want to do. But I wanted to give you some background on what those two perspectives are. One side is looking for inclusion and compassionate immigration policies. They want a pathway for citizenship. Supporters of this view advocate for a clear and attainable pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, particularly dreamers, who were brought to the U.S. as children, such as myself. They argue that these individuals have lived, worked, and contributed to the U.S. almost all of their entire lives and deserve a chance to become fully fledged citizens. This side also believes in family reunification, emphasizing the importance of keeping families together. They often criticize policies that result in family separations at the border and advocate for reforms prioritizing family reunification. I didn't check the numbers, but I do know that as of today, all of those families who were separated have still not been unified. Refugee and asylum policies are also critically important to support generous refugee and asylum policies, stressing America's moral obligation to provide refuge to those fleeing persecution and violence. The other side takes more of a border security and rule of law approach. They're looking for robust border security measures that advocates for supporting constructive physical barriers and increasing funding for border enforcement agencies. They argue that a secure border is essential to national sovereignty and public safety. They also believe in merit-based immigration. They emphasize the need to reform the legal immigration system, prioritize merit-based migration, attracting individuals with skills that benefit the American economy, and also the enforcement of immigration laws. They want the importance of enforcing existing immigration laws and taking measures to prevent illegal immigration. And that includes cracking down on sanctuary cities and ensuring local law enforcement cooperates with federal immigration policies. There's one project I want you to pay very particular attention to. Again, we're not here to take sides, but I think it's critically important that people here and watching review Project 2025. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. If you're not familiar with it, I highly suggest you Google it and read carefully about this one side's plan for our nation. According to the Niskanen Center, the Heritage Foundation Project 2025 is a policy playbook for a second former president's administration. And its impact on immigration will be far more complex and destructive than previously reported. It isn't simply a fresh, out-of-term idea, dusting off old ideas and getting them ready for a new implementation. Rather, it reflects a meticulously orchestrated, comprehensive plan to drive immigration levels to unprecedented lows and increase the federal government's power to states' detriment. These proposals circumvent Congress and the courts and are specifically engineered to dismantle the foundations of our immigration system. They want to block federal financial aid to those dreamers who are trying to go to college and better educate themselves. They want to terminate the Dreamer legal status. They want to suspend legal immigration applications, using backlog numbers to trigger automatic suspension of application intake for large categories of illegal immigration. Excluding temporary workers will suspend updates to the annual eligibility country lists for H-2A and H-2B, which are temporary visa statuses, thereby excluding most populations from filing critical gaps in sectors like agriculture, construction, hospitality, and forestry. They're looking to bar housing subsidies, preventing U.S. citizens from qualifying for federal housing subsidies if they are housing anyone who is not a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident. They're going to force states to share information, mandating states to share driver's license and taxpayer identification information with federal authorities or risk losing critical funding. These proposals mark a significant departure from traditional conservative immigration policies, aiming instead to cripple the existing immigration system with potentially harmful effects on health and welfare of our country. Our role as stewards of this great nation is not to advocate for one side over the other, but to foster a balanced and informed understanding of these different perspectives. Through such understanding, we can promote respectful dialogue and work towards policies that reflect the values and needs of our diverse society, and most importantly, fulfilling not only what I think we believe as a society, or I hope we believe as a society, but what we believe here at UUS is that all are welcome. In closing, let us remember the words inscribed on the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuge of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. This is, in essence, what America is supposed to be. I encourage you, no matter what you think or what you believe or who you're voting for, just please get out there and vote, because my life depends on it.
Is Micah Chase here? I don't believe she's here, so Kendra, we can have the interlude.
Thank you, Kendra. That was beautiful. My name is Russ Lent, and I am here to speak about the concerns of people who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual, agender, non-binary, and so forth. The number of letters associated with this group is ever growing, and there are so many ways to label people who are othered by those who are insecure about matters of sexuality and gender. Indeed, it is not always easy to understand all of their issues, but it is easy to understand that there are many different kinds of people in this world, and that people should have I can't read my own writing. They should have the right, an inherent right, to be true to themselves. Part of my personal story is that I have a transgender daughter, Kathy. Gender dysphoria was not something I understood very well until 15 years ago when Kathy gathered the courage to explain that she was struggling with the male identity that was expected of her. I needed to learn more, and UUS's welcoming congregation process turned out to be very helpful. Meanwhile, Kathy tried to cope as a man, and in fact got married to Kristen, and they had a child, Wesley. The additional dysphoria associated with trying to assume a father role is what tipped the scales for Kathy, and she began transitioning 9 years ago. Kathy and Kristen stayed together as a lesbian couple, and Wesley, who is now almost 10, is being raised by his two mothers. I could say a lot more about this and how Kathy, me, and Jane, and everyone around us has grown in the midst of this transition, but I will cut to the chase in terms of election issues. What is at stake is the safety and well-being of individuals in the LGBTQIA, etc. population. They are used as scapegoats for violating some people's so-called moral sensibilities. Some leaders have targeted them for denial of rights and even cruel treatment in their policy initiatives. For example, Kathy cannot travel in the state of Kansas because it is illegal for her to use the restrooms there. My concerns are that we could elect leaders who will ramp up the spirit of otherism in this state and country, creating further distrust of groups of people who just want to be themselves and live their lives. What gives me hope is the true meaning of family values. I love my daughter. That is a family value. She is still married to the woman she loves, and they are raising their son together. That is a family value. I think that most families include LGBTQIA+ individuals. I know that mine includes several. So if voters will look to their own families, there is hope that they will gain more understanding of this diverse group and vote accordingly. Thank you.
You look outside and you see a beautiful blue sky, green trees, and animals. You hear birds chirping and cicadas, and you know that you need that to live, even if you don't literally need a blue sky to live. You need it to thrive and to feel alive. The environment is inherently connected to how every single person lives. No matter what your age, race, gender, or political affiliation is, you are objectively affected by the state of the health of our planet. I don't know much about the presidential candidates or the political state of our country. I'm 16 and I can't vote. I have to focus on passing chemistry and getting along with my classmates. But I do know that no matter who wins this election, the person in charge of our country must take a stand to do what is right for our climate and our nation. So go out there and vote, because I can't. I can't vote to protect my future and my planet. So vote for yourself and for me and for us.
That wasn't quite as much flourish. But the stool is gone. Good morning. My name is Hillary Higgins. Today, I identify as a 64-year-old woman who is scared, angry, and vulnerable, and tired. Tired of having things taken away from her. Yet, I remain defiant and full of hope and love. History tells us there is nothing new about income inequality. There is nothing new about greedy, powerful men wanting more and more power and subservience. Let me tell you what I am feeling so scared and so vulnerable about. I am scared about the fear-mongering, the lies, the violence, the intimidation that is taking over love. It's taking over being able to care for each other's welfare. Is creating defeatism and apathy. My greatest personal fear is becoming homeless. In your hands, or not maybe in your hands, but sitting next to you, is a plastic shopping bag you've been wondering, what the heck was I given this thing for? There's a piece of paper inside that's blank, and I'm going to give you an assignment. The bag represents your luggage, and the paper represents making a list of what you would take with you if you became homeless. So I'll break it down. You would clearly take blankets, a winter coat, boots, socks, toiletries, 2 pairs of long pants, 2 pairs of short pants, underwear, toothbrush, toothpaste, washcloth, towel, soap, some pictures of people that are important to you, and a few mementos you can fit in your small suitcase. That's it. Now, I live in low-income housing, and in our complex, there are 3 buildings that house 114 people who, if Social Security is taken away, will immediately become homeless with no options. So that's what this is for. If you've got one of these, I want you to stand up, because you're going to represent those people. You got it? You feel it? You realize that what I'm saying is that everything else in your home, your bookshelves, your books, your bed, your couch, your 29 outfits and pairs of shoes, all of your earrings, all of your pots and pans, everything else that makes your home a home, that gives you a roof, is gone, and you are walking away. You are walking away with your suitcase and the stuff on your list, hoping to hell you didn't forget anything. Here's what I need. If I need to talk about this, I need people to sit down with me, to look me in the eye and say, Hillary, I'm here. I don't expect $100 bills stuffed in my pocket. I need someone to care, someone to say, I will sit with you. We will figure this out together. Together, we will figure this out. Hold my hand. Look in my eyes. Listen to hear me. In closing, I want to say, we've seen the 2025 Project 2025 roadmap. It's pretty ugly. It's time to show them our roadmap. Our roadmap with love in the center and a flower that contains justice, interdependence, equity, transformation, generosity, pluralism, surrounding love in the center. The people in the 60s knew it. Love is the answer, right? Flower power, that's where we're at, guys. Thank you for listening.
Well, having heard these very powerful testimonies, what are we going to do? Some of the speakers already suggested things that you can do, but I'll continue that discussion. Here in the sanctuary, your order of service is printed on paper today so that you can take it with you. On the reverse side are several suggested actions. For those of you at home who are watching on YouTube land, I hope you found the email and the list of actions which was sent you yesterday. So I invite you to flip over your order of service. I'm not going to read each one of these, but I'll take note of some. Vote. Encourage others to vote, especially young people. Offer rides to the polling place to those who need transportation. If you're not registered, register, encourage others to register. We have some registration forms at our table during the coffee hour. If you need information about voting, the location of a polling place, or any other information about voting or registration, I invite you to visit vote411.com, a website provided by our friends at the League of Women Voters. Volunteer to be a precinct election official. We've heard that the good people who work at polling places are under threat. We can step up and serve in that capacity on election day, at early voting sites, at satellite voting sites, at healthcare facilities. The website tells you how you can apply to be a precinct election official here in Johnson County. You can write letters to low propensity voters, that is, voters who don't vote very often. You can help Sally Hartman, who will be at our table, who is preparing letters as part of the organization called Vote Forward. You can support organizations that protect and promote voting rights, and also organizations that address the several topics that we've heard about today, and I've listed several. The Voter Participation Center, the ACLU of Iowa, the Iowa Interfaith Alliance. The next one is very important and also very difficult, at least I think it's difficult, and that is to have conversations with people who hold other political views. This is tough. I know that I myself tiptoe around certain people in my family and never talk about politics because I don't want the blast. But I have to re-examine that behavior. I have to think of ways to positively, creatively, sensitively engage them in conversation, to hear what they have on their mind, where they come from, to discover our common shared beliefs and hopes. I think that this is the only hope in the long run. The only hope we have to move beyond our polarized politics is to listen to one another, and those conversations won't always be easy or successful, but we have to try. And lastly, you can learn more about UU the Vote at its website. There are lots of opportunities there, including taking part in phone banking to voters and potential voters in key states like Wisconsin. I want you to take this information home, to think about it, to share it with others. For those of you who are here, I'd like you to take the little slip of paper that you received. I hope you all have your little slip of paper and a pen. Ushers, if you could help anyone who does not have a little slip of paper or a pen. Excuse me, please jot down which action or actions you would like to take. You can leave those slips with the ushers or give them to us at our table during the coffee hour. For those of you at home, if you thought about this and you'd like to pursue one of these actions, you could send an email to me or to Diana Henry or to Sally Hartman. Our emails are in realm. We're going to take these responses, see what patterns emerge, what actions many of us are willing to take, and then we'll do some follow-up work in the coming weeks and months, perhaps more meetings, more trainings, more opportunities to work together. So those responses are important, and if you don't really want to do it right now, take it home, think about it, and let us know. And I will say, although this is a nonpartisan service, there are also, of course, partisan activities that you can take part in. I am doing partisan work alongside this nonpartisan work. If you want to hear about some opportunities with one of the political parties, I won't name which one, we can go across the street and I can talk to you about that. So what is all this going to achieve? Well, you might actually help getting your favorite candidate elected. Perhaps more importantly, you'll be doing something, talking with others. These activities will give you strength and hope, not only for this election, but beyond. I believe if we take these actions individually and collectively, we will indeed be doing something to love more fully and more fiercely into the world.
I'd like to especially thank Jim Olson and the UU the Vote Committee and all our speakers today for a wonderful service. They really worked hard on this, and there's more to come. How we give and what we do with our lives, our time, and our resources is a reflection of our values. In response to the abundance we are blessed with, every week this congregation donates generously to organizations in the community whose work aligns with our values and principles. Our community partner agency this month is Inside Out Reentry Community, a nonprofit organization based in Iowa City, serving people returning to Johnson County after incarceration. They support people involved in the criminal legal system in changing from the inside out, and they educate the public in order to promote healing, restore relationships, and achieve success in the community. In the sanctuary, the ushers will collect the offering, or you can follow the instructions on the screen, not today, I don't think, but they are there, for how to give online. All cash contributions go directly to our community partner agency, Inside Out. In addition to assisting our community partner, you may contribute towards your pledge to our society or contribute to the congregation to provide additional support for our operating expenses. You may also contribute by check using the memo line to designate the purpose. The offering is a sign of commitment to this free congregation, which is completely supported by the generosity of all who are with us. As we give and receive the offering, may we be transformed by our giving, and may the world be transformed by our gifts. As closing words, I'm going to read a poem by Michelle Faulkner called We the People. We the people will disagree on taxation and prosperity, on liberty and duty. We the people are every color of Christianity, every Jewish prayer, every song of Islam, the Puritans, the atheists, and the Amish, our neighbors here. We the people are Jamaican and Japanese, Swedish and Samoan, Cuban and Cherokee, Moroccan and Mexican, the Irish and the Inuit, and all shades of Africa. We are country hills and cityscapes, suburban parks and downtown fire escapes. We are singers and stutterers, daredevils and diplomats, renegades and redeemers, the leaders and the lone wolves, the suits and the sarongs. We are the gun owners for gun control, the justice for unjust loopholes. We are the hands that struck the iron and the backs that laid the tracks of trails of rails connecting sea to shining sea. We are protesters and poets, the soldiers without peace, the nurses without sleep. We are the straight arrows and the skeptics, the gay and others marginalized. We are Black Lives Matter, and we are the badges in blue. We are the people. We, the people, are complicit and complicated. No freedom gave to chains of slaves. We have conquered and colonized, sacrificed and stolen, pillaged and planted to naturalize a nation. We are teachers of tenacity, prophecies of pioneers, and the children of second chances. We, the people, speak for our land's legacy in every tongue, from every rung, on each stumbled stair, each crumbled chair. We demand democracy. May what we have shared today help us more fully affirm our interconnection and love and live into love and justice. Immediately after the service, we gather in the fellowship hall and outside for conversation and community. If you're a newcomer, we hope you'll grab a snack and then sit down at any table so folks can join you for some conversation. And now to close our service today, we'll sing Wo Ya Ya. Please rise in body and spirit as you're able. It's hymn number 1020.
Wo Ya Ya's feel free to harmonize and improvise. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Wo ya ya, 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 wo ya ya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Wo ya ya, 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 wo ya ya.
Please join me in the words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. All these we carry in our hearts and in our minds until we are together again. Let's depart in peace and for peace, with love and charity for our neighbors. Let's remember, freedom doesn't perpetuate itself. We must work at it, nurture it, protect it. We seek to preserve and enhance justice in our fragile democracy. We'll continue to believe in honesty, decency, dignity, and respect, and we'll work together to get out the vote to help be sure our best days lie ahead. Blessed be.